Our society needs this. Our society needs it first and foremost for its own healing. But on a whole, our global society needs it because there are men, women and children who, due to the left brain creation of our systems, due to those who force us purposefully into the left brain system, force us into a state of fear, so we're so racked with fear from the news and the media that we can't manifest anything. Force us into a state of fear so we constantly offend God with our lack of faith. We fear even our own bodies, even our own anatomy. People fear their own anatomy and think that there's some sort of satanic rule over their body. We fear it all because we lack faith in God. We lack trust in God because we don't take the leap, because we dwell in the left. And it's not your fault that you dwell in the left. It's not my fault that I dwelled in the left. It's the elitists' fault for designing my system with intent to force me to dwell in the left. They don't want fully realized human beings. They believe that that is reserved for themselves. And I say it's not. And I say it's a cowardly man or a cowardly woman who finds that truth and that power and tries to keep it for themselves, whilst men, women and children suffer because they do.
Love letters to God. I wonder if she reads them or if they get lost in the stars.
Hey guys, I'm doing a few videos today, but I just want to say I'm always talking about the East and the right hemisphere, and I want to point out that there is an attack and a war on the right hemisphere. Briefly mentioned this in my last video, but there is one, without any shadow of a doubt, because the right hemisphere is the divine feminine. Feminine masculine dwells inside every human being. That's why we are made in God's image and likeness, and Mother Father God was originally called Elohim, which ultimately means Mother Father God. Masculine, feminine. God was never a man. I refer to him as he all too often, but I'm trying to change that and say he, she, Mother, Father, God, because it's important that that comes through to people. But atrophying the right hemisphere, the space of creation, self-realization, the space of spirituality, is a goal of the elitists. Without any doubt, that's a goal. Your education system is the giveaway. Your education system is built up in a way whereby you store information in your left hemisphere. When you store that information in your left hemisphere and you regurgitate it, you pass. If you do not regurgitate it and you question it, you fail. That means the left brainers get into positions of control and power because they excel in basic academics, whereas those who think something might not be right do not excel. As Joseph Campbell said, the only thing that got in the way of my education was my schooling. Same for me, without any shadow of a doubt. So we have this system that wants you in the left. And it's massively important to them that they keep you in the left, because in the right is where you are powerful and you can create and you can manifest and you can love. You can love unconditionally from there. Finding a union between your left and right hemisphere is what is needed. You don't abandon one and have the other. You need a union. You have to create your ark. And the ark is the ark of the covenant between your two hemispheres. And what guards the ark of the covenant but the cherubim angels? And the cherubim angels are the cerebrum. The cherubim angels are the cerebrum on either side of your hemispheres. And the cerebrum of your brain, when working in union, create this ark of the covenant between your hemispheres, which opens you up to be the powerful human being that you were born to be. Unfortunately, those who realized how to become powerful shut you off by putting you in such education systems and using technology in a negative way and diet and nutrition and so on and so forth to alter you further into your left than having that union. This is an age-old story, and it's a necessity, it's a must. We all must do it. We all must take no thought, raise our energies and move to that eastern side. If we don't, we are animals, we are controllable. For those of you who understand the Christian texts or have read them, Jonah and the whale is a very good example of this. So Jonah is in the boat and they're rowing against the choppy waters of the ocean. And he says, "This is terrible, it's not going to work. Cast me overboard into the depths of the ocean." So using his thinking mind, his thoughts are rowing away. He can't do anything. The waters, the conscious mind, it's too much. The life is throwing him around far too much. And they row and he says, "I can't do this, throw me overboard." So the thoughts stop rowing against life and failing as they do. And he goes overboard into the depths of consciousness, into the water aspect of consciousness, earth, water, air, fire. And he goes deep into the waters. And as he goes into the depths of consciousness, he is swallowed by the will. He is swallowed by the divine mind. And while he's inside the divine mind of the will, he agrees to tithe and he gives away 10%. Those that are rowing the boat are his 10%. He gives away his thinking mind, the carnal mind, the left brain. Then he rises from his dwelling place within the will and he heads off to a city, at which point he sits at the east side of the city and observes the chaos within. When you dwell at the Eastern Hemisphere, you can observe in peace the chaos of your own mind, the chaos of life. You can observe it in absolute peace because you are then closer to God than you will ever be. It's a necessity. There's a reason these profound, beautiful stories were written. So right now, today, you can throw yourself into the deep waters. You can be devoured by the divine mind. You can tithe your thinking mind, those that row the boat, and you can go and watch the chaos of the city from the east side. You can view the fires of consciousness and be baptized by that which we call fire, which is ultimately the theta cycle of your brain. Our society needs this. Our society needs it first and foremost for its own healing. But on a whole, our global society needs it because there are men, women and children who, due to the left brain creation of our systems, due to those who force us purposefully into the left brain system, force us into a state of fear, so we're so racked with fear from the news and the media that we can't manifest anything. Force us into a state of fear, so we constantly offend God with our lack of faith. We fear even our own bodies, even our own anatomy. People fear their own anatomy and think that there's some sort of satanic rule over their body. We fear it all because we lack faith in God. We lack trust in God because we don't take the leap, because we dwell in the left. And it's not your fault that you dwell in the left. It's not my fault that I dwelled in the left. It's the elitists' fault for designing my system with intent to force me to dwell in the left. They don't want fully realized human beings. They believe that that is reserved for themselves. And I say it's not. And I say it's a cowardly man or a cowardly woman who finds that truth and that power and tries to keep it for themselves, whilst men, women and children suffer because they do. So begin your journey from the west to the east. Begin it today. And it might take time. You can sit still all you want and your thoughts going crazy. Go for a walk. Try and shut it down that way. You know, when you plant a seed, it takes a while to germinate. And you've spent most of your life, some of you 20, 30, 40, 50 years, atrophying the doorway to the east. So it's going to take a little time to get the seed to burst through the soil. But if we can all do it, and we can all open up our intuition and our divine feminine aspect and find balance between the masculine and feminine within us, find balance between our left and right hemispheres, find balance between the positive and the negative, integrate the shadow, as Carl Jung said. If we can all do that, then without any shadow of a doubt, We can step up to those who design our systems and we can change them. We can build our own. But we can't do it unless we understand our bodies fully and know how to use them at the best of their ability. Because otherwise we get caught up in the story of me and our addictions and our wants. We never get to the east. We never become our whole selves. Instead, we stay inside our 10% and we keep rowing that boat against the choppy waters. And we never actually say, throw me overboard, I've had enough. I'm going down there to find the mind of God. But we must. We all must do that. God bless, guys. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as it really helps us to grow the channel and with it help more children here in Tanzania. Also, don't forget you can support our work by sharing with children in crisis here, be it sharing for a particular need or even sharing one-on-one support for education, housing, food and medical care. It can be done for as little as the cost of a cup of coffee a week back in the West after all. Just visit www.sharetanzania.co.uk to find out more. Lastly, remember you can also support us via Patreon, www.patreon.com/featherstail, and help keep us here in Tanzania to continue our work. The links for the website and for the Patreon are in the description box of this video. Love and light, guys. See you soon.